You're tuned into Unleash Your Inner Goddess, Season 2, where we deep dive into life and business as a neurodivergent entrepreneur. This season is dedicated to fellow ADHDers, autists, those with dyslexia, sensory processing, bipolar, and much more. Last episode, we looked at how we can accept our neurodivergence as neutral. It just is. It's neither negative or positive. It's you that attaches these feelings and emotions to it. The journey to acceptance of self isn't a one-time decision and then everything falls into place. It isn't the flick of a switch. It is a journey of catching yourself when you feel shame, embarrassment, guilt, or even self-victimization creep in. It is the discovery of what works best for you in life and in business and meeting yourself where you are now. It's understanding that the ways we view our neurodivergence, abilities and disabilities are deep-rooted, but that doesn't mean that we can't change them. It doesn't mean that we have to carry around shame or guilt or anything else that we no longer want to have. When we have a belief or an understanding of something that has been reinforced over time, it then becomes a bit like a habit to think or do or believe in that way. And when we challenge the way we do things or the way we think, we can maximize our chance of succeeding by understanding how the brain works. So if you're ready to think differently about your neurodivergence, listen on. And when we know how our brain works, this means that when we inevitably fail, which we will at some point, right? Like, let's just put that straight out there. We will fail on our journey. It is normal. It means that we don't just start another shame cycle of, well, I can't do this. This is not working for me. We give ourselves permission to get up, dust ourselves off, and go again. This is because we are essentially fighting against our brain's need and want to keep things the way they are. So the thing you currently do, so in this case, the way you currently think about your neurodivergence, is stored and utilized in your brain and is activated via a neural pathway. This neural pathway is reinforced and strengthened every time you think this way, whether that be a conscious choice of thinking or not. This is because our brains want to keep us safe, and by keeping things the same, it keeps us in our comfort zone, right? Which means that we aren't taking any risk. And your brain prefers this, it likes it, because it can predict the outcome. And it would much rather do what it perceives as safe, as it's done it before, even if safe isn't really serving you. So your brain is actually working against you. It doesn't know that what you actually want to do will be more beneficial in the long run. It doesn't understand that seeing your neurodivergence in a neutral, even in a positive light, is better in the long run. And changing our thoughts and patterns, it takes us out of that comfort zone, and our brain sees this as risky. So this is why we fail, because we're up against our brain trying to keep us the same. So if we know this and we know what we are up against with our own brains, we can tackle it much more effectively. And this is the same for anything you want to change or improve, anything that challenges what you currently do, whether that's changing the way you eat, whether that's starting a morning routine, whether that's doing yoga every day. Your brain is going, whoa, this isn't what we normally do. This is risky. I don't know the outcome of this. I'm going to do everything in my power to get you to do the old thing. Okay? So whenever you feel shame about your autism, guilt about your ADHD, embarrassed by your dyslexia, or victimized by your bipolar tendencies, you are strengthening that belief and that neural pathway to continue in that cycle. And strengthening those beliefs and continuing that cycle of shame or guilt or embarrassment are holding you back in a big way from showing up and kicking ass in your business and being happy and authentic in your life. It is time to stop wishing you were different. It's time to get your head out of the sand and forge some new neural pathways to support you and your success, knowing that the journey will have failure moments in it. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. And I just want to quickly break off, right, and let you know that if you are wanting to shift how you see this part of you and you are ready to increase your confidence, your self-belief, and have a deeper understanding of who you are, come and join my Facebook community. It's called Drive to Thrive, ADHD Won't Stop Me. It is for those who have ADHD and other neurodivergences, diagnosed or not, I don't care. Wherever you're at in your journey, you are welcome. It is also neuro-inclusive. So even if you don't identify as having neurodivergence, but you are interested in supporting the neurodivergent community, whether that's because you have a friend, a family member, a team member, or clients who are neurodivergent, you are also welcome to come join us as well. The link is in the show notes. Okay, so when I'm working with my clients on beliefs and changing their narratives with their neurodivergences and how they run their business, I explain these neural pathways, as I mentioned before, as ski slopes. Each neural pathway you have is a well-formed, clear, snow-compacted ski slope. It's super easy for the skiers to use. The new belief you are building is another ski slope on the opposite side of the hill. It's seldom been used, the snow is fluffy, the path isn't very distinct, and the skiers have much difficulty going down this slope. So if you imagine each skier that has found themselves at the top of these slopes, and each skier represents a choice that you make, so every choice you make is a skier, and they have to decide which slope to go down, right? The more times your skier chooses a more difficult slope, the more that snow begins to compact under their skis, and the path down becomes more and more defined. It gets easier for each skier to use. And yes, there is very much conscious choosing in the early days of rewiring your brain. So when you're consciously correcting any thought patterns you no longer want, when you're constantly reminding yourself, oh, I'm no longer thinking this way, I'm going to choose to think this way, it feels very forced, right? And that is normal. It is sort of like training your brain. This is how we want to think from now on. So each time you do that, each time you consciously choose that, which seems, like I say, a bit weird, it is making that ski slope more defined. It's making that snow more compact. It's getting easier for your skiers to go down. And you'll catch yourself thinking the old thoughts that no longer serve you and be like, oh man, I'm not choosing to think like that. And then you go into the positive. This is how I'm reframing now. And if you think of it as these skiers on the ski slope, it becomes a little easier to understand how the brain works. So building that new neural pathway is kind of like creating a newer, more preferred ski slope in your brain. The more times you make the conscious choice to do the new thing, to choose that new belief, to reinforce your new way of being, the stronger and easier that new belief will come. However, as I mentioned earlier, your brain will be actively working against you to trick you into doing the things you've always done, to think and believe in the things you have previously believed. And this is where we will occasionally fall down. And I really wanted to hammer this home in this episode that we will fail. We will get it wrong. We will fall down. And I think it's really important to understand that some days we will choose the easy path, the familiar path, the old way. And it might be a subconscious choice, a choice we didn't catch in time, a moment where we felt overwhelmed and overstimulated. But whatever the reason, we went back to what our brains deemed safe. No shame, no guilt, no I suck at this. You literally do not suck. This is how your brain is designed to work. It is designed to keep you safe. The most important part of this cycle is what we then do next. So, how many times have you attempted to build in a new habit to find 6 days in you've chosen not to work out, or you have indulged in that cake, or you lit up a cigarette? In that instance, your brain won. Your brain went back to what it deemed safe, what it deemed low risk, what it deemed comfort. But the next instance, you get to choose again. Will you give in and do or think the way your brain wants, or can you choose the new belief? Can you continue challenging that safe thing that no longer serves you? That is where the ultimate growth is, the day after we fall down, or the next instance after we fall down. And quite often I would fail at this first hurdle. Let's use the diet one. I would be forever trying to eat healthy, and then I'd go, oh, you know what, I'll just have a little cake. And then I'd be like, oh, you know what, I wasn't supposed to be doing that. And then sometimes I'd go, well, sod it. I'm not cut out to diet, and I just go back to square one. And my brain has won. My brain has kept me safe. But other times I've gone, you know what? Yeah, that didn't work out quite the way I wanted it to. I wonder what was going on there. And I sort of meet myself in a, what happened sort of state. And then I go again. I go, you know what? Let's see if I can catch that next time. Let's see what's triggering me into wanting that cake. Let's see what situations are around me that mean I'm more likely to listen to the old narrative. And when we retreat back into that camp of wishing we were different, of putting our head in the sand, and we ignore our neurodivergence, we aren't helping anyone, especially ourselves. When we give up at the first hurdle and label it as a bad job, or worse, label ourselves cruelly, we aren't helping ourselves. Finding a way forward to accept that your brain works differently to the majority of people and is part of who we are is highly liberating. And then we have to begin the work of undoing those thoughts and those actions and beliefs that we have associated to and with our neurodivergence. Whether that be that you feel like a bad friend because you forget to reply or you're always late, whether you think that you are stupid because your spelling and grammar isn't what you deem good enough. Maybe it's feeling like you are a victim of your neurodivergence and have a sense of woe is me, or feel like you aren't capable of something because of your neurodivergence. Maybe you have low confidence and self-belief because you come up against many roadblocks in the different things you do. Perhaps it's because someone said something to you and it's really stuck, it's stung. Whatever the reason, hopefully you're still listening to this because you want to make a change to the way you currently view who you are. So you're probably wanting the juicy details, right? Round about now? How to change these thought patterns, a cheat sheet maybe to unlock all this goodness so you can move forward with ease. I'm afraid there's no cut and dry approach. There's no 14-day detox or anything like that, I'm afraid. It's commitment, compassion, and consistency. It's not expecting brilliant results overnight or in a week or in a month. You're rewiring your brain. It takes patience and probably several months before you see consistent results. So commit to going in for the long haul. It's working with a coach who can assist you with unlocking beliefs that don't serve you and looking at reducing and removing triggers that are encouraging that guilt, shame, and embarrassment cycle. It's knowing your triggers and roadblocks that lead to the feeling that you are trying to move away from and then creating workarounds. It's tracking your efforts and looking at the bigger picture. What do you notice? Is this bigger than what goes on inside your head? Are you more likely to fall down after spending time with a particular person or after a certain activity? It's being kind to yourself when you realize you chose the old pattern of behavior and beliefs about yourself, because that is literally what we're up against. We're up against our brain choosing the old patterns. When working with clients who are doing this inner work, I encourage them to keep a journal, just for thoughts and things they notice as the day goes on, kind of a bit like an audit. If they feel the guilt creep in, they can note it down. Can they note the time or the thing that happened immediately beforehand, and anything else they feel important? That is usually really good too. We look at keeping a list of activities, people, and even times or days of the week that, if you can see a pattern forming in a few weeks, or even where you are in your menstrual cycle. And this helps us see if there are some patterns that we could then disrupt and help change these deep-rooted beliefs. We build in things like mantras and affirmations, gratitude journaling, and increasing the things in their life and business that they feel capable, powerful, and unstoppable doing. So what can you do to step into that acceptance and shed away any feelings that no longer serve you as the badass neurodivergent entrepreneur you are? Next episode, we're going to uncover what zaps all of your energy and what to do about it. And I'd love for you to come over and join us in Drive to Thrive, ADHD Won't Stop Me, a community for all neurodivergent folk and neuro-inclusive business owners. I mentioned it before, but the link is in the show notes, and we will be building on from this conversation, and I would love for you to be part of it. And also, quick note, if you have ADHD, diagnosed or not, you are welcome to download my 30 productivity hacks for ADHD entrepreneurs. It is a cheat sheet. It is fantastic. It is full of ideas to boost your productivity, and not just the typical things you read online as well. The link again is in the show notes. All right, take care.